Well, good morning, fellow panelists. Michael, Tyler, Eric, how are you guys today?
Doing
well,
great.
Paul.
Doing great.
Perfect. Looks like we're just a little under a minute to the noon hour, and I see many of our attendees are pouring into the waiting room right now. So let's give everyone a few, maybe just 2 extra minutes. We'll get started the formal program, maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes after the hour. Lots of people still registering. And for those that have entered the waiting room, welcome, you're at the right place. So sit back and enjoy some of the warm-up slides, and we will start the session shortly. It's just noon now. Another minute and a half. I can see lots of people coming into the session, so we'll give this, I won't call them stragglers. Sometimes there's a few extra buttons to push to get registered and give folks a chance to do that. We do have a terrific turnout today, guys. A lot of numbers with respect to law firms, and very diverse practices in terms of practice type, various sizes of firms. So I think we've got the right audience. I know we've got the right presenters.
Terrific. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll just give it another minute. For the benefit of our attendees, today's webinar is communications from our side when it comes to mic and camera, but that doesn't mean we don't want to hear from our audience members. We absolutely do. So if any questions arise in the course of our presentation today, please use the application, click on questions. You can type them in like a chat exercise, and we will absolutely get to them. We've allotted time to cover particular questions in today's program. And guys, we're 2 minutes after the hour. I think we've got a pretty full room right now. So why don't we dive right into the subject matter at hand? I'm looking forward to this.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Well, welcome everyone to the session today, How Technology Tackles 3 Law Firm Challenges. And this isn't a random topic that we just came up with. The speakers you've got today are pretty well versed in technology. And in the course of our business dealings every day, we speak not to dozens of law firms, but over a period of time, hundreds. And we have constant feedback coming from lawyers, assistants, staff people, IT managers. We hear about the day-to-day challenges that law firms have. So we've done our best to distill 3 or 4 of the most pressing ones that have come up recently and provide an opportunity for a little feedback and some advice for the benefit of those attending. And to get started, maybe a little background on some of the speakers that we've got today to give you an idea of the expertise that's come to the table. I'm delighted first off to welcome Michael Sugrue. Michael, you founded Pace Technical in the year 2000, and you built a huge decades-long career in technology with a lot of focus in that career on law firms and their unique problems. I see that you were way back when a programmer in the aerospace industry. You've been in technical project management, network planning, infrastructure implementation, and strategic procurement in dealing with vendors on behalf of law firms. So that's a great wealth of experience, and thank you very much for coming and speaking to us today, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Excited to be here.
And Michael's joined by Tyler, his partner. Tyler, now also with Pace Technical. Tyler also has close to 30 years of IT industry experience. And back in 2008, Tyler founded Vertex Systems. That's a managed service provider specifically focused on law firm support. He's helped 40 firms reduce their risk, boost their security, and leverage technology to become more productive. Michael just in 2002 joined forces with Pace Technical, and Tyler, again, welcome very much to the session today.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Paul.
We're also joined by Eric Eisen. Eric is Vice President Sales for a product called ACL, or Automated Civil Litigation. It's now a Durham solution. And Eric's got 15 years at least of background in helping businesses of all types use and harness technology to further their goals and needs. And one of the things that really distinguishes Eric in the marketplace is he's extremely well known among Ontario law firms, counseling close to 400 of them in Ontario right now alone with Durham. So Eric, you bring a tremendous amount of experience to the table as well, and thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Paul. It's great to be here. That picture is clearly 15 years old as well. So I hope nobody minds that. I've aged.
No worries. We're all guilty of that. So just a few words about your respective companies, guys, and then we'll, without further ado, get right into the subject matter. So Michael and Tyler?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm glad to be here, everybody. You know, Pace, we've been in business now 22 years. And as Paul was mentioning, last year, both Pace Technical and Vertex joined forces to really create one of the preeminent managed service firms for the legal industry in Ontario. So really our specialization is in our proactive spin on managed services and managed IT support. Also, you know, experts in managed IT security, managed cloud services. You know, we're an ISO 9001 business, and for the last year, you know, last 8 years, we've been a great place to work. And Tyler, I wanted him just to kind of touch on, you know, specifics about how we work with law firms.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, and thanks everybody for having me today. I've been working, as Paul was mentioning, about 30 years in IT, and most of those years very specifically with law firms. And what I've learned over the years is that law firms have very unique requirements, a lot different than a regular business does. And that's in regards to their workflows, how they merge applications with those workflows, their compliance requirements, and just the overall use of technology. So it was important for me to always stay very focused on being able to service this industry, be able to add value to our clients. We're now working with over 60 law firms, primarily throughout Ontario, and our role really is to make them more productive through better use and adoption of technology, and making sure that the right security layers are in place.
Fantastic. Thanks, Tyler. Eric, tell us a little bit about ACL before we jump into the subject matter.
Well, like my friends, I'm very pleased to be here. Any of my friends out there in webinar land, hello, great to see you. And Tyler and Michael, thank you for making the time. So ACL stands for Automated Civil Litigation. And our mission, Paul, is really to make litigation easy for our partners. When it comes down to it, where we make litigation easy is very focused on document generation across Canada. We have over 600 law firms using ACL, over 15,000 users, and millions of documents every year are generated through ACL. It's really powerful, very user-friendly, and it's really designed with the best practice workflow built in there for document generation for lawyers, paralegals, law clerks, legal assistants, and anybody who's using it. It really streamlines the creation of court documents, motions, agreements, any of your standard letters and correspondence as well. And the much more part is that we have a built-in task manager to help make sure that you reduce risk to avoiding deadlines. And we have Exchange Docs, which is a secure document exchange portal. If I'm given the opportunity, then I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But it really makes sharing documents easy. And most importantly, in Ontario, allows you to electronically serve parties without an affidavit of service. I speak to so many firms who are blown away that that's even possible, and we're proud that we're able to facilitate that. So there's lots to say about ACL, and you know, I'm happy to share any more later on.
Perfect, Eric. Well, thanks very much, guys, both for your personal backgrounds and also the company side. So let's jump right into the first issue. It's one that comes up on a regular basis. For many law firms and lawyers, on a good day, technology is a distraction. On a bad day, and to quite a few of them who can be frugal, we all are, it can be perceived as an onerous overhead. a burden to the firm, probably cuts into partner distributions. It's just technology doesn't seem to have anything to do with the traditional practice of law. Still and all, we've spoken to some very innovative law firms and their senior management partners who see technology a little differently. So Michael and Tyler, I'd like to start with you guys. Is technology really the necessary evil that many law firms paint it to be that only negatively impacts their bottom line? Or is there another way to look at technology from a law firm's perspective?
Yeah, well, I'll have to say first, love it or hate it, I don't think we're going back to pen and paper or standard mail anytime soon, although maybe there's some Luddites on the call that may have a different opinion. But yeah, for sure. I mean, there's obviously a cost associated with IT, but as you mentioned, it's really meant to be that enabler that helps your people be more productive and ultimately provide your firm with really a competitive advantage. But that's if you use it and manage it properly. But it can also be a double-edged sword. Like if you don't invest enough or manage it properly, you can end up paying more in inefficiencies, loss of productivity. And I think that's where IT can kind of get a little bit of that bad name. So we generally see two approaches, either IT is that enabler and, other functional area of the business. You have finance, you have accounting, IT should be right there amongst them. Or you might just see IT as another line item on your expense sheet. And if you're taking that approach, you're going to do the bare minimum, set up computers, put out fires as they come up, really no real focus, but you're missing out on a lot of the value that technology delivers if you have that approach. Because IT was never meant to be, set it and forget it, walk away. However, over the years, that seems to be kind of the accepted theme. That's what IT people do. We set up equipment and we're the guys you call to fix it when it breaks. But there's really so much more that you can get out of technology if you manage it properly. And there's really two key elements you need if you want to get the best results with your IT. The first is having a proactive approach. And really that overall theme should be proactively aligning your systems to a set of known IT standards and best practices. If you do that, the results that come out of that, fewer issues and headaches that you were referring to, Paul, lowering risk for the firm, closing security gaps, and overall better productivity for your people. So that's one key element. The second key element is having a focus on strategy, not just, throwing IT in place and walking away, but looking at it. What are the things that are slowing your people down or getting in the way of productivity, and how can we get to the root and solve those issues? Are we using the right applications? Are you using the right workflows? These things need to be looked at. And do your people have the best access, whether that's, keeping your systems local or maybe looking at cloud-based systems that can enable your people, especially as we move into a hybrid kind of workplace. So really kind of summing it up, I mean, IT can certainly be that enabler, but you really have to have the right approach and right management to it.
Perfect. Very good. Michael, I heard two resounding keywords from your comments, strategy and productivity. So with that, Eric, I'd like to look to you. You support in Ontario alone, Eric, roughly 400 Ontario litigation practices. They use our value-added application, ACL 5, and some of them use Pace Technical to host ACL 5. What are you hearing, Eric, from senior partners and lawyers when it comes to productivity and strategy with their technology?
So over the last 3 or 4 years, Paul, I mean, a lot has changed. We know that, and it's nauseating to continue to hear that cliche. But I think so many things have come to light and laid bare those firms who were really lagging in the technology adoption area. In many instances, senior partners who were resistant to tech adoption and associated costs that came with that are now the biggest proponents of technology. And really, nobody's looking back because as Michael said, the need for technology and the technology train has really left the station, and for good reason. Legal technology is unquestionably helping our partner firms thrive, and firms are seeing the benefits of their investments in legal technology. It's taken a while; they've had to weed out a lot of it, but unquestionably, they are seeing that. When it comes to our partner firms, as a case in point, the value ACL delivers is very clear, and it's made it a no-brainer when it comes to me speaking to our partners both before and after procurement. So I don't want to make it an infomercial but about ACL, but as a use case, it really has such a compelling case and paints that example. It helps increase productivity so much and reduces the time people have to do to repeat tasks, such as rekeying things or ensuring that they're using the right court forms. These equate to huge time savings and value right off the bat. It helps users stay organized and helps them prioritize their day-to-day work. So, when it comes to tasks for their matters and managing deadlines, there is really a significant reduction in risk with ACL. And it also helps with the acquisition and retention of staff. And that's a cost that's built in there because it costs money to hire new staff. It costs money. There's downtime while you're training staff. And when you have a user-friendly product, whether it's ACL or something else, you're going to foster that adoption. If you're really breaking down something into an ROI exercise, I think the two most important ROI pieces that I hear when speaking to our partners, and I think that this should apply really to any of our audience members who are assessing a new technology or assessing their current technology. But again, using ACL as a case in point, it really allows firms to handle more files with the same or less staff. I don't love to say less staff, but certainly do more with less or the same. And as my good friend Adam Wagman, who's a managing partner at Howie Sachs and Henry, told me, the efficiencies that his firm benefits from with ACL and the built-in workflow that comes with it help the firm move through their files faster and quicker to settlement and ultimately revenue realization, and ultimately allows them to maximize their billable hours. Lastly, in many instances, you have the ability out there to disperse the cost of some technologies. It's not in every case, but in many. So, it can help offset some of the cost of technology if you do have that ability. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, I think an application-centric focus produces operational wins for firms, and that outweighs the cost for sure. And I do think ACL is a great example of the value and benefits that technology can have that outweighs the costs.
Fantastic, Eric. Thank you. I heard task focus, time reduction, doing more with less. Let's tackle a related challenge to many law firms that we hear day in, day out, and that is the seemingly piecemeal or fragmented adoption that some law firms bring to the mix. So what I mean by that is, we know that document management, ACL, e-discovery, practice management, these are all hugely beneficial to firms, yet many firms, even large ones, this lawyer is using e-discovery, the guy in the office next door does not, the person next door used it on one case but doesn't use it on another. It seems like the benefits have simply not been adopted throughout the firm, which has got to be leaving money on the table. Tyler or Michael, what are your thoughts on poor implementation?
Yeah, Paul, I'll jump in on this one because over the years, I've certainly seen this happen time and time again, never really with any success in this piecemeal approach. I think back to, a lot of firms years ago trying to go to a paperless office, and you had a couple of partners or lawyers that were driving this initiative. Other partners, lawyers, they didn't really believe in it, didn't want to adopt it. So a few partners, a few areas of the firm start to go paperless, and now you've got this mix of some documents, some records in a paperless office system, some in the traditional filing cabinet system, some on people's desks. So, documents really all over the place. And now the perception is this is, the paperless office platform, the document management system is the evil component to all of this, because it used to be as simple as going to a filing cabinet or knowing where that file was. And now all of a sudden it's, could it be in the document management system? Where is this? And they're looking in multiple places. Inevitably, the plug gets pulled on the whatever that software, that document management system was, because the perception is, of course, that it's more complicated and confusing to find the documents. So a much better approach really is you want this firm-wide adoption for any new technology that you're going to implement. So ultimately, getting buy-in and having an authority in the firm that's going to mandate this is a great way to do it. Eric and the guys at Corbatech, this was a perfect example at Howie Saxon Henry, where Adam came in and actually mandated the use of ACL throughout the firm, because I think it took a while to actually launch until people actually adopted it, because it was more of this piecemeal approach. So having a managing partner, somebody with authority, really, building the business case around it, whatever those ROIs are, whatever the reasons are that the firm should adopt this new technology to be more productive, to be more consistent in the results they're delivering, to have better access to records, whatever that type of software technology they're putting in is. And then getting buy-in and from really the rest of the partnership level, others in the firm, so that everybody's on the same page that this is a good initiative. Once you've kind of established that and there's the agreement that it makes sense to implement this new application or technology, really you want to also now get buy-in throughout the firm. And we found the best approach to this is building like an IT committee and having some representation from each of the different practice areas in the firm, or each of the different lawyers groups. And really the role of the IT committee is to be involved in the deployment of the new technology. And some of those key milestones to drive a new technology from inception into production in a firm revolve around making sure that the necessary training's done ahead of time. The configurations and setup of the application are customized or developed to meet the workflows and requirements of the firm. Some user acceptance testing, and then ultimately the go live. And really important, that why I say to have this IT committee, because if more people are involved in the implementation of an application, the more closely attached they feel to it, and the less likely they are to resist it upon go live. They want to see this as success. They're involved in the deployments. They're involved in this whole initiative. So they want it to be successful. Another key point in all of this that's often missed and often causes application adoption to fail is, pre-go live training is somewhat useful, but usually people aren't that attentive to it. They don't care at that point. It's not real to them there. So they'll learn a bit about the application. They'll learn a bit about what it can do and how it does it. But more importantly, is having a training program after the go live. So getting people prepared on how to use it, having a support team from that software company, your IT, whatever, to help handhold people from the go live. But then ultimately, once live, going back and doing some training sessions, because once they're trained after the go live, they now know what they can or can't do in the application. They'll have much more specific things they want to understand about it. They'll have more pointed questions and really then take advantage of learning it. And you want to do that in pretty short order after, because otherwise, if people get frustrated, they aren't using that application, they're ultimately going to try to avoid having to do it. I don't know, Eric, what have you found works well in deploying ACL? Is this similar strategy that you guys take, or?
Well, I wanted to yell at you for stealing all my talking points.
And, so we're in line.
So I'm gonna say ditto. No, I'm going to actually just try to not be redundant, and I'm going to add to that a little bit. So I concur with everything Tyler said and 100% agree, and think that there's immeasurable, valuable points in there. But when it comes down to it, you can be out, as our audience knows, you can buy the greatest software in the world, but if nobody's going to use it, or you don't know how to use it, it's useless. It doesn't matter how good it is or what they pledge they're going to do. So I think some additional points, maybe to just add to Tyler's points, are creating a culture that is really open to tech adoption and fosters a reduction in a resistance to change is so important. I think, you identified it, Tyler. We encourage our new partners to really find what their secured, like really what their shared goals and objectives are between partners and users. We find the least successful are the partners that just push down on their staff, or the staff that are, are not getting buy-in. Our best customers are the ones that are engaged at the managing partner level. And you alluded to a good example there with Howie, Sachs, and Henry. It comes down to, if a partner rolls their eyes and says, I'm not going to use it, it's not going to work. So getting buy-in across management and users, as you mentioned, Tyler, is paramount. And I feel like this can be achieved by, sitting down and being open and laying bare what challenges the firm is truly having, and collectively seeking out technology options, or it doesn't even have to be challenges. It can be what objectives you may have, and seeking out technology options that will help with those challenges and objectives. You mentioned a tech committee, which we always endorse. And I think the one thing I wanted to add about tech committees is, I think people feel like it's just for big firms, but that's not at all the case. A technology committee can be a technology committee of one, your senior law clerk, and that's totally fine. It's really finding the right people or person on the staff that can help manage that decision and evaluate solutions. So if you're a sole practitioner and you get buy-in from one or two of your staff, and they're part of that decision-making and implementation process, that's just as important as it is for small firms as it is for larger firms. We also advocate having an in-house champion. We're really lucky with ACL because we've been around for so long, and it's almost ubiquitous in so many firms. So we have people who use ACL and go to other firms all the time, and then they're walking in going, we have to have ACL, and that makes it easier. But having an in-house evangelist will rub off on others, and it provides an in-house subject matter expert sort of as the first responder when there are issues. But that's not who should be relied on. You alluded to it too, Tyler, that the best vendors when it comes to technology will really support their application. And there shouldn't be a collect the invoice and run type attitude from your vendors. And it happens so frequently. If you ensure that your vendor understands the nature of your business and do your diligence and has experience in change management, because really handling the natural human condition of resistance to change, which as a salesperson, I can tell you, just frankly, that's my biggest competitor out there. Is people aren't deciding between us and another competitor. They're deciding whether to stay with the old fashioned copy and paste precedent folder or doing something modern like ACL. And that's our biggest competitor. So if we can, if we've really over the last 14 years, 15 plus years, become experts and mastered at helping firms adopt new things and help with that resistance to change and help with that change management. Having a good partner like that, like Pace Technical, ACL, people who have that experience, because we understand that that's just natural. Obviously, we can help facilitate that change and adoption of new technologies. So it comes down to a lot of internal, and it comes down to having a good partner.
Eric, thank you for that. And Tyler, you both, I think, really tackled that topic very well and shared some good insights. Let's look at one of the most persistent issues in law firm technology today that we continually see, and that is the huge risks entailed in emailing sensitive legal files as an attachment to an email. LawPro, the well-known Ontario professional indemnity firm, their CEO claims that they have never seen more monthly claims for ridiculous amounts, 6, even 7 figures, of law firms that have had their trust accounts or their clients defrauded and bilked of large amounts of money that invariably trace to some nefarious party intercepting an email and being able to read the sensitive documents associated with it and use it to their advantage. It is no longer a rare occurrence. And from a behavior standpoint, we know that LexisNexis surveyed law firms, and 82% of them said losing documents in this manner would be highly consequential. Yet 90% of those same law firms continue to email sensitive documents in an open attachment. So Eric, on this one, let's start with you. Why the huge gap between the need for security and the lack of security applied to email attachments?
It's such a great question, Paul. And electronic security is such a hot topic in so many of mine and my team's conversations. And I've heard you say it so many times, sending sensitive data via email is about as secure as sending a postcard. So I'm always amazed at, at the stats you just gave, and how, when I meet new prospective partners of ours, and I mean like law firm partners of ours, how many are still trusting email, and how many have had ransomware claims against them that likely originated from a breach created by like email phishing or malware. It's mind-blowing. So one of the things we've done at ACL is we identified this, and we have Exchange Docs, which is our secure document exchange portal. And we're proud to say it's been being used by over 500 law firms now. And our users have been very clear in our surveys. There is reluctance amongst firms to mandate the use of secured email because email is the easiest thing to send things through. So that is really what it comes down to. And it's hard to supplant email because it's really easy, and people tend to default to that path of least resistance, even if it's not the wisest decision. And people know that, or should know that today. It goes back to what I said earlier. If a software doesn't solve a problem and the workflow isn't conducive to making their lives easier, making them more efficient, or reduce friction, and all of those things in a day-to-day user's life, the adoption is going to be a challenge. So Exchange Docs, as a case in point, was introduced with, for example, with the ability to serve parties electronically without need of an affidavit of service. And it's built right into ACL. So you produce the document and are able to share it from the exact same user interface and application. And we've had almost 10,000 parties served since January 2021. And the reason is because it's convenient. The security just happens as a consequence because we've made it easy for them. And that's really what's come of it. And we couldn't sell a secure document exchange portal on just the security benefits alone. We had to embed it really in ACL as a compelling convenience and a cost-saving feature, really is what it's come down to. And that's really what's incented usage.
Makes a lot of sense. Tyler or Michael, do you have some comments on this email security issue?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Paul, how much time do you have? Because I think we could spend the rest of the day talking about IT security. But look, I agree, secure email, it's a huge blind spot with firms, and definitely Exchange Docs, addresses this issue. It's a great tool. But I'll tell you what, this specific issue, with secure email is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to security and security blind spots that we're seeing with firms. And absolutely, in any case of security, you have to try and strike that balance with security and usability. Like, we can't handcuff people. We can't completely disconnect from the internet. But we also can't, turn a blind eye to IT security as well. From what we see, most firms have, some security tools in place. Whether it's this tool here or the standard ones, your firewall, your antivirus, multi-factor authentication. I'm still surprised we still see some firms that don't have MFA installed yet. So, they have the tools. But I'll tell you what, every company across the globe has these basic IT security tools, and cybercrime doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. There's so much more to IT security just beyond the tools. We refer to that internally here as hygiene, and hygiene is really that proactive process on managing the security tools, but also aligning your business to a set of known IT security standards. So look, if there's only one thing that I left you with today regarding IT security, it's this. Every firm needs to have they need to receive some kind of ongoing risk report that lets them know exactly where they stand based on having roughly, let's call it about 100 to 150 checkpoints, because by the way, there is that many checkpoints that should be looked at within just IT standards and IT security alone. But it can't be a verbal assurance. And I can't tell you how many times, we've come into a place after a breach, after a big incident has happened, and the person says, well, I thought my IT guy was taking care of this, or I thought they were looking at this, but never got any kind of report around it. And if you kind of take that blind eye approach to this, you have to be careful, especially in this day and age. If you haven't had a conversation with your insurance agent about cyber insurance recently, you should probably pick up the phone and give them a call, because so many things have changed there. And some of this could be perceived as negligence if you're going in to make a claim. So you have to be careful about that. But if I was to leave you with one thing, you need to see the evidence. Hey, lawyers love to talk about evidence, right? You need to see a written report. Somebody needs to say, all these things have been checked against these standards. This is exactly where you stand. These are the areas you have risk. You have the ability to decide if you want to do something about that risk, but somebody needs to present this to you in black and white so you know exactly what is going to happen, because ultimately the firm is responsible if they get hit with a cyber attack, and the fallout of that cyber attack is going to fall on the firm itself. So they need to know these things and know exactly where they stand.
I really like what I heard across the comments here. The notion that security will not be embraced in law firms at all unless the staff find it is seamlessly woven into their happy workflow. The minute it becomes onerous, they won't use it. And Michael, you had some great comments on the more compliance reporting standards. Very good pairing. I spent, just incidentally, about 4 years in the global IT security business. And for the benefit of our attendees today, I can tell you, banks, healthcare providers, lawyers, those are the three #1 identified targets of nefarious parties out there for the reasons that we've talked about. So 2 weeks ago in the Globe and Mail, there was an article that astounded me. It said, Toronto has the lowest back to office adoption rate of any city in North America. Apparently, we as a city are running at around 40%, low 40s right now, versus other jurisdictions, New York, Chicago, and elsewhere. So gosh, that tells me like the hybrid work arrangement in Toronto, at any rate, seems to be here to stay. What does that say about remote work technology, IT cloud enablement? Michael or Tyler, we'll start with one of you at the beginning. Are we at end of task on the whole notion of work at home, work at office?
Yeah, I can jump in on this one, and I've got to think that's, well, the statistic is pretty outstanding that Toronto is one of the leaders in remote work. It's probably because the traffic in the city is so bad, but I think it's safe to agree that hybrid work models here to stay. And really every firm, most businesses, they need a long-term strategy in place to be able to support this. And you probably already, when you're recruiting for new people and even retaining your existing people, you're probably finding that one of the requirements for hiring somebody new is they want to be able to work remotely, either all the time or part-time. At Pace, I think every single person that we've interviewed for new hires, that's the #1 of their requests, more important than salary or anything, is that there's some flexibility in a hybrid working environment/model. So many factors to consider around the IT and being able to support this, because again, I don't think we're going to be able to avoid it. We're in it, it's going to stay. There's a lot of positives from it, but very important to make sure your IT infrastructures, applications align with this, and that there's the right setup to make sure that we just talked about security. I mean, that needs to be at the forefront of all of your hybrid work model decisions. The pandemic, it really created this perfect storm for cybercrime, and all of a sudden everyone was forced to work from home, and many of them having to work on home computers and home networks. And us in the IT world, we'd always focused on securing the corporate networks, the office networks, the corporate computers, servers, all of that. And then all of a sudden, if people, firms weren't set up to be able to work well from home, like I said, people forced to work on their home computers, and that's where there were a lot of vulnerabilities. So very easy vector to be able to attack, a lot less expensive, a lot easier for hackers to find ways in. So based on that, we know we've got to figure out how to, secure the hybrid work model, secure the applications, secure the transmission of data, like we were just talking about, and some strategies around that. One, using corporate laptops. It's an expense to the firm, but whether you do it all at once or whether it's a staggered approach as you're replacing computers, get people a laptop that they can work from in and out of the office that's managed, supported, and secured by your IT. It's a lot more consistent to be able to give them to work on one standard system, and the ability, like I said, to properly manage, secure it, and support it. You can't do that on somebody's home equipment. And kind of going back to the previous topic also, you don't want this, their workflow to be cause complexities and make it more difficult for them to work. You want it to be as seamless as possible. You don't want resistance. So, having a docking station at home, having a docking station in the office, make it easy for them to be able to plug in the laptop wherever they are, not having to connect cables and do all of those things. Whatever their home office setup is, it should mirror as closely as possible to what they have in the office. If they use dual monitors in the office, they should have dual monitors at home. You want to make them productive in both areas. One of the things we've done at Pace that's worked really well is we provide every one of our employees a $1,000 a year allowance towards their home office. They can use this $1,000 for anything that's ultimately related to their home office. So whether it's setting up additional monitors, good webcams, good speakers, ergonomic office chairs, ergonomic setups, whatever is going to help them, be able to work more productively from home. That's been very well received, and it's a win-win on both sides, because now we know that they're going to be in a better setup at home, and they're also being able to invest in some stuff to have them work from home. In addition to security, productivity is critical. And, some of those concepts I just gave you about the dual monitors and making sure the setups mirror each other from in the office are part of what's important for their productivity. But you also need to have, a very reliable, high-performing systems that allow you the same access to your applications and data that you would get in the office. So high performing, because if people are losing several hours per day working from home, compounded by the number of people in the firm, that's a huge loss of productivity and money. So, every law firm has unique requirements. We can't say one size fits all for how you set up a hybrid working model. You need to really understand, what the applications are, or what applications you don't have that need to kind of fill in these gaps, and then designing the IT infrastructure around that. Some common methods that we use with many of our clients: a virtual desktop type of environment, VPN solution, web-based applications, Microsoft Teams. Those types of things are really important to be able to have productive use of applications. Also, collaboration, another big point that people are now working from home in isolation. You want to make sure people are staying in touch with one another, that there's an easy way, effective way for them to be able to collaborate, share data, be able to, video conferencing platforms, chat platforms, data transfer platforms, common ones. Microsoft Teams, Zoom, Slack. Those are some of the main collaboration type of platforms out there. Also, though, we were talking about it before, sharing data in a law firm is critical component to being able to work in the office or out of the office. So making sure, that you're leveraging an application like ACL Exchange Docs or some secure method, easy to use secure method to be able to share documents. All of this really ties into your overall IT strategy. This is where your IT needs to play a critical role in your firm, so that they're strategically understanding, what your workflows are, what your applications are, where there's gaps, and then designing a secure, easy to access, high performing IT environment to support your hybrid work model.
Very good, Tyler. Looks like remote work can certainly be an enabler for better performance as well from your comments. Eric, I'm going to try to manage our time a little strictly for the final material because we've got a few things to get through, but I don't want to miss a comment from you on remote enablement from your perspective.
Sure, Tyler covered a lot of it, so I'll keep mine short. But needless to say, yeah, I mean, I think that is going to change in Toronto as well as elsewhere. I mean, I think it will come back to some semblance of balance, and Toronto will definitely catch up to some degree. But hybrid is here to stay. I think we all agree on that, and people are wanting that. The reality is with ACL, like Tyler said, ACL, like every other application you use, should be able to be used in a hybrid environment. And ACL, 98% of our partners had no issues when the pandemic hit a few years ago. To be able to work remotely because it pairs so well with, MSPs like Pace Technical, for example, and many others as well. We have the ability to have ACL reside right on desktops and laptops so they can act as both workstation and server all in one, as well as some other tools so that you can work offline on ACL for, many weeks without interruption. And with that said, Exchange Docs is a very good example of a cloud enablement for remote workers, as it's integrated right with ACL, as we talked about, and protects your documents when you send them using one of the most secure cloud services like Azure, Microsoft Azure. And that's really especially helpful when you're working from home or elsewhere. It's really the best of both worlds when you think about it, because it's whether it's on your desktop or hosted by Pace, whether you're at the office or out, you can send secure documents through the cloud either way. So, I think it's really important, just to wrap it up, that when you're looking at applications and software solutions, that they do play nicely with MSPs like Pace Technical, and that they do have the ability to, support the hybrid work model for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. I think it's an appropriate time now to just go to a couple of quick questions that I see have come in from the attendees. I think we can budget another 5 minutes of time to wrap up. So a few things on our agenda. The first one I'm going to direct to Michael or Tyler, and the question is, law firms are inundated by technology vendors' proposals, phone calls, emails, etc. A couple of quick tips for law firms to screen and select vendors more economically. So guys, if we could keep it to bullet points, but that's a very good topic to address.
Yeah, I'll start off. I'll let Tyler add his comments in there, but just to kind of reiterate even a couple of the points that I made earlier, really, whether it's, internal IT resources or you're outsourcing to a vendor like Pace, you really need to you can't get away with that kind of reactive based approach, set it and forget it. You really need to have a proactive approach that's going to show you the evidence. They're going to be proactive. They're going to be checking in these things, especially around IT security, and showing you the evidence via reporting. So making sure it's a proactive approach, making sure the reporting, they're, keeping track of, metrics, KPIs around IT, and they're doing whatever they can to help you improve your people's productivity. Those things you need to absolutely make sure you have. I don't know if Tyler has anything to add there too.
Yeah, good points. I mean, the only thing I'll add there is really what I started the webinar by kind of giving the background on my history and why we're so focused on the legal industry. It's making sure you select a vendor that knows your applications and understands the workflows. The only reason you're really using a computer to begin with is to access your applications. So if the vendor you've selected doesn't have familiarity with the applications you're using, how to host them, how to support them, how to work with the vendors on supporting them, how to upgrade them, how to just make those strategic recommendations on technology selections by understanding, what those requirements are within a law firm, you're missing out on the core of really the importance of leveraging IT and technology to be a competitive advantage for your firm.
Fantastic. Eric, I think what we can do is just go to wrap up comments. If you have 2 nuggets, 3 nuggets, bullet point to leave our audience with, and it can probably encompass the questions we've been asked here.
Yeah, you know what, Paul, I'm going to use my last nugget just to maybe expand a bit on what Tyler and Michael said just with that question, if that's okay, because I know we are tight on time. But I would say also looking for testimonials from other users is critical when assessing. You really want to get a sense of, do they know your business and whether they've been similarly situated with comparison to yours. You want to talk about their training programs and support times and response times to support. Do they actually answer the phone, which is a rarity in this day and age, and who's actually manning that desk? Is it onshore? Is it offshore? Is it trained monkeys? I hate to use that. Or is it actually legal professionals? Because that's what you'll need. And how much flexibility and innovative is that firm? I think that's a really important thing to consider when you're looking and assessing a legal tech vendor. You want to make sure that the technology that you're looking at potentially integrates with some of your other applications. So there's a streamlining of workflow is really critical. And that's something else you really want to look at. And what is the roadmap? What is the last thing they innovated on? What are they planning on? And how transparent is their roadmap? And how much have they adhered to that roadmap? So some of those things are very critical. And maybe that's my final nugget when you're looking at technology, legal tech vendors and solutions that you should consider. And I'll part with that.
Fantastic. That's a great way to cap it off, Eric. Thank you for that. Now, a note to our audience. Firstly, I seem to have lost my screen there, but oh yeah, here we go. For anyone that wishes to contact any of our panelists after the session, anything for PACE, inquiries at pacetechnical.com. That email goes directly to Michael and Tyler. Similarly, info@corbatechinc.com goes directly to Eric's mailbox, and they'd be delighted to take unique topics offline with our audience. Now, we did promise in the invitation to this webinar that there would be prizes, and I'm delighted to announce not just one, but two. Not life-changing perhaps, but we're offering a $50 Amazon gift certificate. There are two winners today, and we'll make the announcements right now with first name, last initial. I wonder if I could ask one of my panelist helpers. I'll just see. I'm not used to Zoom so much on webinars. I don't have access to the attendee pool, but Michael or Tyler, are you able to see the attendees and hit our random winner generator?
Yep. Yes.
Perfect.
I'm on here. So
winner number one.
All right. I'm just going to winner number one is
drum roll, please.
Harris Khan.
Fantastic. Harris, we will make sure we email you the certificate. And I don't know whether, Michael, you can pick a second one on Eric's behalf, or Eric can see one. Let's have a second winner, since we had
Michael did such a good job. I want Michael to do it again.
All right.
All right. Let's hit the random name generator
is going right now. And the second winner is Peter Griff.
Fantastic.
Congratulations,
Peter. Welcome. Congratulations to all of our audience members. Thank you so much for your undivided attention today. It was a lot of fun to cover these topics. They're important. There are many more. Do feel free to contact us. We'll be happy to pursue any conversations with you and your firm that are pertinent to harnessing technology to solve the three challenges and more that we addressed today. Michael, Tyler, Eric, thanks very much for all your input.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for joining.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks everyone.
Bye for now.
Bye now.
Bye.